Thank you again. My name is Whitney Gilstrap, and I am the Marketing Director at Lockstep. And I'm excited today to join you and talk about navigating some of the challenges and pitfalls of a manual collections process. And really, what that's going to include is, the impact of unpaid invoices and data entry mistakes leading to creeping DSO, and then also why investing in AR automation is worth it. Then I'm going to dive into some of our AR automation benchmarks that we've established through our own customer base and how increasing automated collections activities correlates to a reduction in DSO. And then I'll kind of close it out with a discussion discussing some of the benefits of automation and really why it's important to look to this for yourself and your company if this is a very manual process for you right now. So a little bit about us up front. Our mission is to connect the world's accounting departments to help them work better together. We like to call ourselves a pioneer in connected accounting, and what that really means is, our goal is to develop tools and platforms for fintech developers and accounting teams to automate their workflows between the accounting systems that are at the heart of all of our businesses. I won't list out all of these here, but our flagship product, Lockstep Receivables, boasts some of these stats and awards. All right, so getting right into it. So the challenge with a manual collections process, I always like to say that marketers have HubSpot, sales has tools like Outreach and Sales Handy, customer success or support have Zendesk, but really one of the most vital parts of the business has little to no automation. And without that automation, businesses face a lot of these challenges that are listed out right here. And really, the move to remote work kind of exposed a lot of the problems of a manual process. The pandemic really increased the workload because there was an increase in collections risk, and the traditional credit scores pretty much kind of went out the window. Collectors now want to contact as many customers as possible to assess collectability. But really, who should be called first, and what are those priorities? A lot of that decision making was left up to the individual person or that individual collector to decide on what their next best priority was. So I know this is a very ugly slide, but really kind of a day in the life of the collector. Each staff member kind of starts their day reviewing the inbox or their Outlook and then manually exporting that aging report and making their to-do list from that. They are set out to do all of their calling, to ask for confirmations. Installment plans are becoming more common, and they need to extend payment terms and obtain promises. All of these communications, plans, extensions, and promises need to be recorded and tracked, but where does that need to be done, and how is that best done? For most, that means that's a lot of data entry, no automation, and a manual process that's really built on Outlook and Excel. And it would look really similar to something like this. Here's a snapshot of what a manual collections process might look like. And this was sent to us from a client before investing in AR automation. And what you see are color-coded accounts based off payment history that is manually tracked and maintained with notes. And then each day that collector would need to manually update this type of spreadsheet in order to prioritize their day. So here's some of the top reasons for late payments, and here's just a few examples of some of those top reasons that we see. We like to call these cash traps, and what it really boils down to is that late payments have a ripple effect on your accounts receivable in several ways, and that is including increased days outstanding or DSO, reduced cash flow, and increased collections cost. If a large percentage of your customers have late payers, that can cause DSO to expand enough to snare you into a cash trap. Late payments increase DSO and the amount of money your company has invested in AR. And then the collection bottlenecks can make reducing DSO to get out of cash traps an extremely big challenge, especially if you don't have an automated tool put in place or the one that you're looking for. So this is kind of why deciding how to handle the late payment behavior is super important up front. Okay, so some of our benchmarks on some manual activities, and in these benchmarks, AR staff without AR automation require around 25 to 40 minutes per phone call. This includes prep time to get information together, like call time with customers, post-call administration like write-ups and reporting. And through the combination of phone calls and emails, the average AR staff can complete around roughly 40 to 60 outbound communications per day. The limited capacity for the staff means that less than 10% of customers are contacted after invoice presentment. And this is typically because staff is focused on that 60 days past due and above. So rather than being more proactive about allowing your customers to pay proactively, you're kind of chasing those ones that are just extremely past due or 60 days past due. And interesting, just side note, the Hackett Group reported that one of the biggest obstacles to reducing DSO was the lack of technology adoption by accounting departments, actually. So then now I'll get into a little bit more of post-implementation benchmarks that we've established. And what's really exciting about this data is that it's all Lockstep receivables from our actual customers that are in production and using the product tracked over the last 10 months. I'll let you read through this slide, but we had a good diversification around industries, revenue size, and a good mid-market representational revenue size of about 205 million. In most of these customer interactions, a business case and ROI model was created pre-sales by the partner company that we're working with and our team. And then the ROI would include the relevant measurement for that customer. So whether that be days sales outstanding, average days delinquent, or total receivables. So from that, then a target for improvement was established. And this data was collected post-implementation and mapped actual results back to the pre-sales targets. We actually made this a standard practice for our clients as a result of this benchmark study that we did. Also, in addition to a great diversified group of companies, we also had great variation in the number of accounts, the number and size of invoices, and a mixture of adoption that we'll get into a little bit later. Some had communications that were uniform for all of their customers, which would be, 100% automation. Some had communications that reflected customer size, type, or credit status even. And we like to call these customer segments. But the three benchmarks that we're going to analyze for this session and from our customer base are around automated communications, customer self-service, and activity management. So let's get to that first one. All right, so first we examine the impact of automated communications. And these include reminders, statements, past due notices, and what they replace are spreadsheets, like I showed earlier, Post-its, 3-ring binders. You can get creative with that one. But these customer communications are your voice. They should be completely customizable. They should sound like your company and adopt the tone and content specific to that customer or collection stage. And they should also be tailored for your customer type. So going back to those customer segments, many of our customers segment their customer base to ensure they're getting different communications relevant to that segment at a relevant time. And then they should be specific to your credit policy. There should be a different message that's served up for someone that's 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. And that can be defined by the customer type. And when we compared pre and post implementation of automation, one of the biggest things we found, the average days delinquent dropped to 18, which was over a 53% improvement. So even if you're using automation already, you need to adapt to be more effective. We're helping our customers change frequency and content and cadence all the time for best results. And one of those examples would be, one communication that we added was for a customer service notification on installment plans. The second benchmark looks at the importance of human touch and tools for the collector. So collections is human touch is a customer relationship role. When we asked our community of customers in our AR community what they find rewarding about their job, there were two factors that really dominated that conversation, and that was building relationships and then helping others. And in this data, you can see that the impact of automated communications, which is that first first bar right there, compared to 100% manual, the best combination leveraging automated communications, personalized communications, and then the good old-fashioned way. So you can see a mixture of the both here. But in the first column, a solely automated communication-centric approach is an option that a lot of our customers have employed. It really is effective at driving your customers to the self-service portal and accelerating payments. And while this may be a perfect approach to a smaller, maybe retail or a mom and pop account, it often isn't the right approach for a larger white glove or someone with more strategic customer types. And then on the very last pillar, likewise, this is the manual collector-centric approach can also be affected as represented by the 34% past due. So of customers outreach using automated communications, with the majority being AR teams calling or emailing. But the really interesting thing is the combination approach. The two approaches is by far the most effective, represented in the case in this study right here with our 16% past due. All right, and then the final benchmark is looking at customer self-service. Customer self-service is it's a way of enabling your customers to complete activities on their own, rather than your team or your AR collectors having to do an extra activity like sending an invoice, which is extremely common with our customers. So using automated customer communications to drive that is a clear winner in this case. We heard loudly and clearly from our Lockstep customers and prospects that use the automated payments, and based on best practices and the move to remote work, it was a big lever and averages about a 14-day acceleration. And this is just one of the components of our self-service portal. Today, our portal includes a single sign-on, which is a secure passwordless entry that allows your customers to make payments. They can do ACH or credit card. They're also able to make promises to pay within the portal, and also do dispute management. And then other factors of how customer self-service reduces past due and average days delinquent is that the customer has immediate access to information they need. So they have all the information right in front of them to pay, such as, possibly purchase orders or statements and missing invoices like mentioned. And, the key takeaway here from a payment portal or a customer payment portal, even just accessing their information online, is for customers to remove as many barriers as possible for your customers to be able to pay has a significant impact, as shown by the data here. Okay, so that kind of concludes the benchmark information data, but I threw a couple of quotes up here just from some of our customers. I'll let you read through these, but I did want to highlight in more depth, a little bit more depth of a case study of one of our current customers as well that has six entities billing in 3 different currencies. And just a little background is they provide asset management, payroll solutions, and media content for advertising and entertainment industries. But some of the big challenges that they faced when looking for a solution was data volume. They had a lot of data, and when we set up our system for them, how we were able to address that challenge, we set up multiple syncs were established to accommodate syncing over their data, so it was as real time as it could possibly be. Another challenge was aging. Because of their process of future casting currency rates monthly, they struggled with validating aging across all companies and currencies. And then with our solution, it was able to validate a lot of the aging and get a more accurate reading of this information. And then finally, a big challenge of theirs was document management. So going back to having accessibility to your customer, allowing your customers to have accessibility into their information, their invoices, their communications as well. And then also being able to attach documents, to those accounts on your collector's end, being able to have one source of information for a lot of that document management. And since implementing Lockstep receivables in 2019, they brought their total aging down to 6.8%. So then that kind of goes into naturally what the benefits are for implementing a solution. Reducing DSO is great. It increases your bank balance, which means you have more working capital to invest in the business. And then that working capital also increases your cash from operations by reducing interest expense or increasing interest income. And what we also almost always witness is that reduction in DSO are always accompanied by increase in operational efficiencies. And finally, since that drop in DSO increases liquidity and profits, there's an increase in that shareholder value as well. So really, when looking for an automated solution, we always like to say, just make sure that the solution has these key components. You really want to do an audit of what your current collections processes are and make sure that you dedicate some time to looking into that, because what you'll want to do is find a solution that is customizable based on your business processes. So finding a solution that can be back, going back to those automated communications, again, your tone, your message per customer and credit policy. You can get as role-based as you want with that, or you can use an out-of-box system. It's really just designed for what your processes are set up for. And then being able to have that activity management, the blend of human touch and automation and the management of tasks. This allows you to be able to reach more of your customers without that manual activity behind it. So you're really being able to let them proactively pay rather than always chasing those past due ones. Letting them self-serve, that's a huge one. And then we have, there's also lots of programs around that, getting customer adoption. A lot of our clients, they've rolled this out to their clients and have had zero friction throughout the process. We have programs set up to help you get that customer adoption of the payment portal as well. And then, of course, there's cash application, faster payments, fewer errors, and then increased ability to scale. And then the forecasting and reporting aspect. It's based on your actual data, and it's enhanced for those financial reporting possibilities. You can make better decisions if you have data in front of you, as well as be able to report more efficiently and effectively to your executive team. And that was all I had for today as my presentation. I'll go ahead and stop there and see if there's any questions that came in at all. But I also really quickly just want to say thank you, everyone. And again, make sure to stop by our booth. There is, you can do our poll, make sure to get registered and into our raffle. Thank you, everyone.